Welcome back to the Lipoedema Podcast. We are your host, Shell
and Tiana, and today we have a certified health and mindset coach with us, Vanessa Armstrong. Vanessa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure.
So we're going to get right into it. How did you come to learn of lipedema, and when was that?
Sure. So my story is a little bit different because I had started on my own kind of like health and longevity and weight loss like over 8 years ago. And I had lost 45 kilos, or I like to say I released 45 kilos using like a simplified keto approach. And after like trying everything, and living in an obese body for most of my life, that addressed root causes for me. And then I was working with a remedial massage therapist who had seen my body change. And one day she said, you have all these lumps. And I said, yeah, isn't that normal? And she said, no. And I said, well, I don't go around feeling other women's bodies, so how would I know? And she was like, good point. Maybe I should be more proactive in telling people like that their body feels different to me. Right. So we had this conversation. And then another time she said, do I give you these bruises? And I said, no, I'm a walking bruise. And then she's like, okay. And she just didn't, that made her feel better because she wasn't making me bruised. I'm like, I'm a walking bruise. And then obviously like Instagram was listening. And then my feed started to change. And I had this dancing lady on my feed, and I'm not into dancing so much. So I wasn't overly focused. But one day the text said, are your legs tree trunks? And I've been working in the coaching space for over 5 years, and I talk to my ladies all the time about like having gratitude for my tree trunk legs, like getting over what the look of them is and actually what I'm able to do with them. And so I stopped and watched the dancing lady. And then I was like, bruising, tick, like the knees, tick, like, tried everything. Like I could eat lettuce and I would gain weight.
Yeah.
So and then it all just fell together. And then I went down the rabbit hole and found you guys and other podcasts and put that together. And then, so I was 50 at the time. I'm 52 now. I got my formal diagnosis. And at 51, I decided to have surgery and to protect the work that I had done already. Like I was living pretty much a life of conservative measures other than compression, like because I lived a low carb keto lifestyle. I used saunas, I used ice baths, I moved my body, like did all the things. So I was ready already for surgery in regards to the texture of my legs. Surgeons and MLDs were like, oh, wow, like that's super soft already. So I credit that to more the lifestyle and the food. And I wanted to protect the work that I put in, basically. So that's where I decided. And this week is my 1 year of traveling to Germany to have my surgeries.
Wow.
That's how I came about
Has
it.
that been one surgery?
No, I had 3. So I did it a little bit differently. So I went and I had my interior legs, and then I had my arms done 2 weeks later. I stayed there, and then I stayed 2 weeks, and then I flew home. So I was there a month, and then I went back 4 months later and had my exterior legs. So I'm 1 year, the end of my 3.
Incredible. And that's your surgery's done. You don't need any more surgeries, or what are you thinking?
I don't think I need any more. Like, I think surgery is a rabbit hole unto itself. Like, I think you were talking, you're living in a different shaped body now. Like, now I'm an apple where I've never been an apple. And that's a mindset thing. Like, you just start to go, oh, is my stomach bigger? Like, it is. And I'm like well aware of my clothes. It's not bigger, but it's a mind game and getting used to your new body. So, no, I don't need any more surgery. Do you play with the idea? But no, I hope not. But who knows?
So far, you're done. So far, your surgery journey is done.
Yeah, I have my mobility. Like it's fantastic. The difference in the legs is so much lightness. Like there's not really much difference on the scale. The shape is extremely different. Like I was very active before, like 3-4 times a week playing tennis. Now I'm 5-6 times a week playing tennis. Like I'm just able to back up and keep going.
That's awesome. I love hearing about the lifestyle changes, like the ability changes that surgery can bring to people. Because, because of my background in dancing, aesthetics is like front of mind, which is not healthy. But when I hear about like the pain and immobility that lipedema causes, and that I've probably experienced too, but I don't see it because I'm all about aesthetics. And then when I hear that, targeting your lifestyle in a way that we'll talk about soon, as well as surgery, helps those things and people can get out and move more or just enjoy their quality of life. I just think, God,
Yeah,
we've
you
done it.
don't realize what you didn't have in regards to the mobility. Like, I worked really hard at being mobile and was very grateful for what I could do, for sure. But it's even easier.
Yeah.
And the food aspect really helped control my inflammation, but it's like a next level of control now. And I think, it's rewinding the clock that I didn't have the knowledge or the roadmap before because you didn't have a diagnosis, right? Like, so it helps. Yeah, it
Yeah.
helps know where you're going and how to get there, whether you choose surgery or not.
Yeah, 100%. Very cool. And we are going to talk about nutrition today, but specifically, I wanted to talk about protein. I've been on a lifestyle weight loss journey after my pregnancy because I put on a lot of weight breastfeeding, trying to breastfeed. And I'm doing that by a calorie deficit, by concentrating on my protein. And I have a protein goal of 140 to 160 a day. And I never realized how bloody hard that is to reach during the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
So I dare say I'm not alone. And that as we as women get older, our protein needs become more important. So I really want to tackle protein with you today in a way that's practical. Understanding that protein is super important, especially for us as we age. Can you please explain why it's so important?
Sure. I think it's great. It's at the forefront now, tagged along with like the discussion around perimenopause and menopause. So that's good that it's out there and people are starting to pay attention. I think it would be great if we actually like impart the knowledge to our children earlier so that they're not like playing catch up later where we're playing catch up, right? Like, so there's no woman in my experience of coaching. And so I coach on habit change and mindset change. And a lot of women, we align like where they want to go with their goal. So if their goal is strength and longevity and like reducing inflammation, you do lots of things and protein is one of those things. So once we kind of hit 30, our muscle starts to reduce like each year and we want to protect that. If we started with that knowledge earlier, that would be helpful, but now we're playing catch up. So you want to make sure that you're hitting a protein target. I think you're like micro focusing on a number and that can be overwhelming, but that goes with your personality of what, like how you talked about things, right? Like I like to coach away from numbers. So no counting calories, no macros, etc. I like trying to have people lean into more some intuitive stuff, but still managing towards your goals. So to keep it really simple and moving away from someone thinking I can't start this because they're in a place of overwhelm is to start with like a visual, right? Like, and visually at minimum, you kind of want to be eating the palm of your hand per meal. And you probably need to increase like 3 to 4 meals. So you're like 3 solid meals plus a protein mini meal is how I would try and describe it to somebody who was like trying to lean into protein. And the third, like you want to have at minimum kind of like 30 grams of protein per meal. But what does that kind of like look like for somebody? That's like really, I like to say, take your protein the size of the palm of your hand or bigger. Like it doesn't matter if it's bigger. We're working like that's the minimum because women are under eating, right? And then if you have 2 sources of protein on your plate, like whether you're garnishing with a little extra protein or you're mixing like 2 chicken and like bacon or whatever you choose to do, adding something else on the plate, and we'll talk about some plates and things like that. It's an easier way to get to it instead of thinking like one source needs to be all those grams. Like
Yeah.
if I do a little of this and I make like my salad dressing a little bit differently, that's going to bump up your protein portion. And then you've got two sources of protein in your salad, and then if you were to drink during the day, some water with some chia seeds in it and a bit of lemon, that's going to help you as well. So there's different ways to kind of go about doing it, but we're wanting to protect our muscle, and we can think about protein because it's innate to our body, like it's in nature, and think of it like some people, if they have resistance to it, to think about it like it's a medical tool in our toolbox. Like it helps us move from one meal to the next meal feeling satisfied. It helps if we're feeling satisfied moving from one meal to the next meal, then we're less likely to be having like the food noise and the cravings and going to the sugar and the cupboard and stuff like that. So we can move away from thinking this is about willpower. It's really about the food that went in before helps to push out those cravings. And if we pair the protein with other things on the plate in a bit more of a mindful way than we probably were brought up, then we can cut down on relying on willpower. Like I think willpower doesn't exist, and if it does, it's really short,
It
right?
is.
We're
It's
putting,
there in the morning until about 1:30 and then it's gone.
yeah, you're backing yourself into a corner, like instead of, you know, having a bit more control over something, but we don't know that we're doing that. Like we're being told like this box that has a tick on it or says that it's high protein or it's healthy, and we think we're doing the right thing, but it isn't. Like we're just putting some money in someone's pocket and thinking we're doing the right thing, and that's actually making us hungrier.
Yeah. I agree. I know that when I am conscious of my protein intake and I'm sort of nailing it, that food noise does die down. It's still there at certain times of the day, but I think that's more habitual. Like I'm getting tired and fatigued, but it's quieter and it's able to be managed. I'm not running to the pantry. I'm sort of, yeah, I could do that, but I know that it's not good for me, so I probably won't do that. I'll do this instead.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that like it's super important for women with lipedema, especially to protect our muscle, right? Because this is like the connective tissue and the circumference, I always have a hard time saying that word, like wrapping of the fat is hurting our mobility. And if we lose muscle, that is like a double whammy, right? On our mobility. And then one thing I just want to say, like, if people are using a GLP-1 as a tool in their toolbox to reduce inflammation and maybe to be using it as a weight reduction strategy, like the research is that there's 30% reduction in your muscle. You have to protect your muscle. It's super, super important that they're hitting those protein targets and then also adding, as we all should, like lifting, whether that's resistance training or like if you have enough weight on your body that you're lifting your body if you're able to. But that's hard for a lot of ladies at different stages, right?
Yeah.
So you really need to manage and get your protein levels. Think get in the habit of have the protein, increasing your protein, and then use that if you want as a tool in your toolbox. Yeah, I'm just so worried of the muscle reduction. It's up to 30%.
Yeah, that's staggering, isn't it? When you're trying to lose weight and you see the scales going down, you're like, yes. And then you just realize that it's all of the lean muscle mass. And when you
Yeah,
come off those medications and go back to eating, you're sort of setting yourself up to fail and you're
yeah.
not increasing those muscle. You're just increasing the fat.
So if we start our day with protein, like, which is a very different way than we were like told by the food pyramid for so long, right? Like start to do some swaps and think differently about just how we build our plate. You don't need to be micro focused on a number. Like when you're getting into biohacking and stuff, or if you've been plateaued for a period of time, then you can look more to some numbers and science. But we want people to start, and we want them not to be overwhelmed and then go, oh, this is too hard, whether or not that's a protein or keto or anything, right? Like if you have to keep weighing and measuring, it's going to do your head in, like at some, right?
It's not sustainable, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's a short-term thing. So, weighing and measuring is a means to an end. It's like an education for this short period of time. Oh yeah, that's how much 30 grams of cottage cheese looks like. Oh, that's how heavy-ish my chicken breast should be to get that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I've got some notes. Like, I mean, I think one of the things that people don't understand, a lot of ladies that I work with, and it's not just ladies who don't understand, um, like somebody will think they're doing the right thing and they'll go, oh, I had a steak at the restaurant. It was 220 grams. And they think that the weight of the meat is protein. And that's a thing to be mindful of. 120-gram steak, you're like looking, depending on the cut of the meat or whatever, but that's all like really like complicated. Basically just go, okay, it's 30 to 40 grams, basically, right? Each serving of meat, we could put in that kind of like category of we're aiming for 30 to 40 and think of it a little bit like that. Because on the science side of like calculating your protein, there's a range, right? Like which you would have been using is like 1.7 to 2.2 of your ideal body weight. Well, how do we know what our ideal body weight is? Like, maybe I want to be 60 kilos. That isn't going to happen, right? So that's not, what we want isn't our ideal either. And then somebody looks at that and they go, I can't do that math. It's too hard for me. But on average, we need 100 grams, right? If you're currently sitting at 60, let's get you to 90. Right. And then if you're trying to push out more noise, let's increase it more and go from there. But to take someone from eating like the standard carb heavy way, protein light way to 120 grams, that's for most people going to be too much.
Yeah, it's a lot. And, my next question, because I think I always thought that I was like a lower carb, higher protein eater, but when I actually started to track, I was probably intuitively only getting about 80 grams of protein a day and more than that for carbs. Like, I was higher carb. It was just because I was choosing a salad over a sandwich. Like, salad doesn't equal low carb. So for somebody who is looking at that number or the ideal and thinking, I've got a long way to go, like maybe they're only getting 60 to 80 grams per day without knowing it. What are some practical tips to reach a daily target? You mentioned the palm size 3 to 4 times a day. Is there anything else? Like, what are some other things we can do?
Yeah, so I think always starting our day with hydration is really good. And so have one glass of water with some lemon in it to start your day. And then your second glass of water, if you're really trying to chase some protein, you could use chia seeds that are soaked. And I like to put them in my water bottle the night before, so they're really soaked, and put my lemon in them and then grab it out and drink that. That's automatically, you're going to get, a fair chunk of protein in your day, and then eat your first meal of the day. So you can call it breakfast, but some people I think you like to fast as well, so it can be later in the day. It's your first meal of the day. Make sure you lead with protein, 100% lead with protein. So what does that look like? Like the choice of yogurt is really important. If you're a yogurt person, it needs to be a Greek yogurt, not a yogurt that's Greek style. It's not a yogurt that has like fruit that's already like preserved and extra sweetened in it. It's like, one that makes you go, that's a bit tart, right? Like, and then from there, build on that. So you may want some berries in there. You could put some like seeds. Seeds have a bit of protein in there. You could put a little bit of nuts. You don't want to over consume on seed and nuts if weight reduction is one of your goals. But it is going to help with some protein. You could put chia seeds in your yogurt if that's where you want to go. So that for someone who's a more traditional, I like yogurt for breakfast. That's like what a breakfast can look like in regards to that. You could make a smoothie based with a yogurt. You put some cottage cheese in it. You won't taste it. Blend it. Put your cacao powder in it, etc. As a one way. But then like eggs, bacon. Anytime I tell my ladies, like there's no more 2 eggs. It's like 3 plus eggs, right? And then you add your slices of bacon to that, or you can have, some hamuli and some greens, etc. So you always want to lead with the protein aspect. If you're on the run, you can make a frittata, or a quiche, have that. put protein in it. So the leftover meat from last night, if that's some roast chicken or some roast pork, whatever it is, put it in your frittata and eat that as your first meal of the day. If you're a coffee drinker, I would switch out like cow's milk for like an almond milk that has a little bit of protein and less sugar.
Oh, interesting.
This is important for inflammation and cravings. Like if you're a multiple coffee drinker a day and you're putting cow's milk, I'm not anti cow's milk, like it's sugar, it's liquid sugar basically. So if you're trying to give the most impact of your protein eating, you want to manage the sugar cravings that can come sneakily in, right? Like in regards to that. Lunch, I always like to say, like, and I call it a fat salad because we used to like make skinny salads, right? Like when we were always dieting. So make a salad that makes your eyes pop with like color in it and extra things in it. Like, so 2, 3 sources of protein. I always make in my week like a chicken salad, an egg salad. I'll put some chickpeas in it if you want to eat chickpeas. You can put a bit of dairy in. You don't want to overconsume in dairy. And some ladies with lipedema stay away or try and limit their dairy. My body personally doesn't mind dairy, like, so I like it, but if I'm trying to release weight, you don't want to overconsume on it as your main protein source, right? Like, so use it as a complementary thing, a flavor aspect. If you are somebody who eats legumes, I personally don't, I love chickpeas, but they don't agree with me. Like lentils don't agree. They bloat me, right? Like they create, inflammation in my body. If they don't do that in your body, then you can use them as a protein source. If you're a vegetarian, the volume of food you have to eat to get the protein is much higher. It's much harder, like, to get that kind of target. So you want to like mix up your proteins where possible.
And that's to get all the right amino acids, isn't it, Vanessa? So like a plant-based protein hasn't got the full array of amino acids that, say, a piece of chicken would have. So chicken is a complete protein, good to go. Whereas
Yes.
if you're looking at legumes and things like that, they don't have a full protein profile.
Correct. And the volume you need to get that same 30 grams, like, is much higher, right? Like, so it's not as easy for you to hit a protein target being of a vegetarian main source. If you can be a vegetarian and make sure you have some dairy and eggs, like eggs, I think are the most perfect kind of food on earth. They're traditionally less expensive. Now the price is up there, but like for volume, we're just still okay, on it. And they're so versatile. So adding a fried egg to your burger, right? Adding a fried egg on top of your stir fry, these things can help like boost up your protein. Eggs into, like, if you want to make cauliflower fried rice or normal fried rice, if you are eating rice, like you can bump up, you can put the chicken in the fried rice as well as some bacon, you can put some egg in there, and you've got a really higher level of protein. Like, that's important to try and just mix your protein sources. In my salad, I'll always have 2 to 3 sources of protein on there. And then a thing that you can do, like if you can eat cottage cheese, one, getting past the 80s diet mentality of like, that's what we ate and it's horrible. If you can get past that now, like using flavor and like some chili salt in it, but blending it. So if you blend cottage cheese and you could still put a bit of sour cream in there, or I try and stay away from mayonnaise because of the oil. So the oil is quite inflammatory, the seed oil that's used in mayonnaise, unless you're making your own. You can boost up your mayonnaise. Like you can make it taste like mayonnaise, right? Like your chicken salad with the cottage cheese blended, you won't know the difference that it's not mayo in it, or your tuna salad, etc. So you're automatically boosting your protein in your day. Plus you're having your meat as your main source, you're going to get there.
Yeah. And it is just focusing, and like you said, leading with protein. And it changes the way you look at food as well. So I find when I am eating a more savory, like if I start my day with leftovers from the night before, I don't have sugar cravings throughout the day. It's like I haven't flicked that switch on yet. It's like stayed, and probably because I'm satiated from the protein. And yeah, so I do like leading with protein. But I also wanted to point out, Vanessa, you spoke about yogurt. So I can eat yogurt. I can't eat cream cheese or cottage cheese. Like my body doesn't like those. But with yogurt, we don't have to buy YoPro. If like, I just want to say to the audience, and you may already know this, but if you grab a normal Chobani Greek yogurt and the YoPro, you will see they've got the same amount of protein, yet your Chobani Greek yogurt is more natural. It's just the way it was intended. But whereas your YoPro is full of all of this shit and
Extra
it
fillers.
costs more.
Yeah, it's extra fillers. I really like the Greek yogurt from Aldi in the liter bucket.
I've got that one in the fridge.
Yeah,
I like that
and
one.
this is like to be mindful of marketing. So the 2 yogurts at Aldi, you think the one in the 500 mils, which is kind of like rectangular, is the same as the big bucket, right? And if you didn't have fridge space or something, you're going to lean towards the smaller one. It's twice the sugar content. It's blue writing, it's Greek style. It's not Greek yogurt. So like paying attention to labels is super important in regards to managing our, protein and sugar consumption, because we think we're doing the right things, but we could be putting things in our body that's causing the inflammation, right? And that's what's so important for us, is to manage the inflammation.
Yeah, we still want to eat foods that have had the less processing and human intervention as possible.
Exactly.
Don't
Yeah.
we? Yeah. And so what are some clever food swaps like to hit your protein goals? Like I know you've just gone through like what you would eat in a day, but what are some easy swaps for people to make sure they're hitting their target?
So I think, like you said, and I have that down as one of the tips, like you can eat your dinner for your brunch, right? Like that's an easy swap. What was on your dinner plate probably is going to be satiating for you versus the traditional, breakfast that we were marketed. So if you're short on time, that's a great way that you don't really have to think, right? Like that's a good swap. I think if you started your day with cereal, then move into making like chia seed puddings, right? So we're looking for good, better, best swap in regards to things. If you if you love burgers, go to town on burgers, right? Like just leave the bun off to the side, right? And check in with yourself, make your burger like really like a lovely patty with an egg on it and with some bacon on it, some nice avocado, you know, some lettuce, a slice of tomato, etc. And then enjoy that, right? And just think you can have 2 patties. Like nobody's going to overconsume on the protein. What we want to manage is what else is on the plate. So eat your protein first. If you are still going to choose to consume foods that are higher in carbs, like try the burger without the bun or go to half a bun, and try and fill up more on the protein, because it's what's going to hit your hunger signals and your satiation signals. It's going to help those to work. So that's a good swap, is like pull back a little bit on the white things on the plate and eat your protein first, and then eat your green leafy vegetables, and then eat your other veg, kind of in that order. That's going to give you the most impact for the work that you're doing with the protein.
And that's also going to help our insulin levels, isn't it? Like when we think of insulin, if we start with our protein, then it's going to help our insulin levels.
Yes. Because it buffers. Protein is a buffer to that glucose spike, right? And so every time we eat, our glucose comes up, and then the insulin, I like to think of it, comes up over top and pushes down the glucose. We want that to be working, right? We want that to happen. But what we don't want is the glucose to go too high, and we don't want an overproduction of the insulin to push it back down. And if we come from the thought process of 6 to 8 small meals a day, that is happening way too much for our body and is creating a lot of metabolic instability in ourselves and our regulation, and we're going to be hungrier and all of that. And then you're in that willpower battle instead of just letting the body show us and eat when you're hungry. And if we eat protein, and to think about am I full, am I not full? If you're still hungry, then eat more protein. Like, don't feel guilty about eating more. Just choose what you're eating more in a way that it supports you, right? So if we play around and experiment a little bit with that, then it will become quite interesting. So for me, if I eat chicken, like chicken breast, I will be hungrier probably 2/3 sooner than if I ate pork or if I ate beef. So 100% all the time. I'll be like, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, like it's unusual for me to be hungry right now. Or what was my last meal? So always look to your last meal if you're hungry, like, and go, oh, I was light on protein, or what kind of protein did I have? Or did I have perhaps extra carbs on that, right? Like, if you are somebody who's consuming that, then just look, maybe you pull back a little so that the protein can work a bit more and keep you satiated. When we've got the ratio a little bit out, it's harder for us, right? Like it's harder for our body to have those signals that work for us. I think making your own salad dressings is a really good swap for increasing your protein. So you could use sour cream or you could use cottage cheese, in regards to that. So pulling back from just like a mayo-based dressing that can help boost your protein incrementally, like in your meals. 2 protein sources on your dinner meal, whether that's like you're having, like the burger with bacon, you could add an egg, you can have extra. So where you can have just a little extra, even if that's like, oh, I'm having a piece of chicken, maybe you could wrap it in some prosciutto, right? Like, could you do something a little bit different to slightly increase them? But wherever you're starting from, don't think you have to be way at the other end, right? Like just work incrementally. Oh, okay, this is how much meat I normally have on my plate. I'm going to go like maybe half a serve more per meal. And you don't have to change anything else initially. Just increase the protein on the plate. Hopefully eat it first. Then go to your greens, change the order a little bit and see what happens for you.
Yeah, we don't need to change everything at once. And yeah, changing one meal a day, even just changing what you're having for breakfast and nail that and then move on to the next thing.
But the first meal of the day is the most important to nail your protein because it sets you up, right? Like it gives you the best chance to move from that first meal to the second meal and then to be in a mindset where that second meal, you're not chasing hunger. Like you're just like, I'm going to fuel my body for energy. What's some of the best choices I can make on a good, better, best scale for the second meal of the day? And then hopefully we get to the third meal of the day and we're like, oh, I've had a really good day today. I'm going to keep this momentum going, right? Like, and then you just keep showing up for yourself each day and think of it not in a sense of deprivation, but of self-love, self-care, self-respect, right? And that you're working on consistency, not perfection. Like perfection doesn't exist. So, it's not worth people talking about, oh, you got to do this. Like, no, just show up.
I love that. It's the intention that changes everything, isn't it? It's really powerful. And what do you say, like what protein supplementations? Do you do any shakes or pills or anything that people can use to make sure they're getting more protein?
Look, I personally think most of them taste like crap. Like, so they're not something I've used in my toolbox. Like, I've spent the money on them, but I don't overly prescribe to them. I think chewing our food, first of all, creates signals in our body, and the saliva has a purpose, right? And then we go into our gut microbiome, which is like is everything at the moment, right? It's our second brain. And when you are drinking your sources of food, you are cutting out some important points in the process that help with us signaling I'm hungry and I'm not hungry. And then a lot of them have so many fillers in them that's not good for our health, right? Like, so if you are going to use it for a tool and you feel that that's something you need for, I would do it more of a short-term tool. I wouldn't feature it every day, first of all, but you need a clean source of protein. One thing, like a tip actually that I would use is a good bone broth, a really good bone broth. And bone broth, like I went through like 5 million of them. So I'll just tell you, I'm not sponsored in any way, shape, or form, but in our Aussie company, it's called Gravity RX. And it's in a paste. It sits in the fridge. It's a teaspoon in your mug, and I call it the cup of love. It's like an apple a day, only you're having a bone broth a day, and that's going to help pump up your protein intake. It's really good for 3 o'clock craving time. Have that. It's a hand to mouth action, and it's so good for your gut as well. And you can use it at any time to try and cut out cravings and noise. Like, it's so good for you. So I would lean to that instead of a protein shake, right? Like, they have a lot of fillers in them. If you did need one, use it. And you maybe even, instead of like chasing a whey protein or something, and I would tend away from pea protein, like then they're quite inflammatory. It can be in some people's bodies. Again, you could move to just a pure collagen source, like in a powder, but you don't want to mix it with coffee. That's like degrading it, yeah. So that's important.
I didn't know that. Say it again.
So mixing a collagen or a protein powder with a hot source might make it taste better, but it degrades it, right? Like, it's not in the best form for it to be going in your body, as far as I know. So
I need to stop putting a shot of coffee in my protein shake in the morning.
You can put a
No, if it's cold, cold's okay.
I need to make it earlier so it cools down.
People do. They're putting their protein powder or their collagen powder in like a cup, and then they're adding their coffee, hot coffee.
Gotcha. Okay.
You don't want to do that. Like, but as far as like getting a coffee taste in a shake, sure, go ahead. Like, yeah, no worries. So and I think it's important for us in the community. Like, I mean, I lived on diet shakes at points in time, right? So to build the relationship with real food and trust in ourselves and trust in the food is important. And so to rely on a shake as a meal, like, I think there's a little bit too diety culture. So we want to eat our food as often as possible. Now, sometimes, sure, that isn't going to be like totally possible. And so you may have it as a tool in your toolbox, but I would make sure like it's got some ground chia seeds in it, or you've got some ground nuts, or almond butter in it. You've got some other sources in there, and it's clean of what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I definitely use like protein powders just for convenience. So like, after my workout, I'm spending an hour getting the kids ready to get out the door. I don't have time to sit down to a meal. So that's when I would use it to supplement for when I do get to sit down and have time for a meal. But absolutely, like, food first makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get that, like the on the run, etc. And we do need to be mindful when we have our food, like to be present. But if you're on the run, like, you just got to do what you got to do sometimes, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't like jerky so much. Like, my husband's getting jerky and I'm trying it, but like, it's such a good on the run sauce. I just don't really like it, especially in the morning. I can eat bacon and eggs, like, and sit down to a beautiful breakfast meal that's savory, but I couldn't eat a snack, like a savory snack food in the morning. It just feels weird. Something salty, savory, like a jerky in the morning, like, it just sounds weird. I could have a protein shake.
Could you have an egg?
I could, but Vanessa, that means I have to prep it in advance. And I'm already prepping, like, I'm prepping my baby's food. I'm prepping the girls' lunches. I'm prepping for dinner the next night for my family. Like, I'm prep city. I'm done. I don't want to prep another thing for myself, but I know that needs to change if I need to reach my goals. I'm just not right there.
Maybe there might be opportunity just to look at the prepping a little differently. Like, it sounds like everyone thinks you're their chef, right? So is there a way for that, like, to kind of come together so that like everyone's being nourished on a similar level, like, and then there's just an add and a minus kind of thing of a few ingredients for a few people.
Yeah, you should do like quiches for dinner, but make mini ones as well that you can have for snacks.
Yeah, totally. We love a leftover. Like, my husband and I, we try and make our dinners for Africa so that we have leftovers. And I must admit, like, I'm on maternity leave at the moment, but I'm doing a course at work. So once a month I go to work for a week and I meal prep for that the weekend before and I do my chicken and brown rice and vegetables and I bloody love it. I fucking hate the meal prep. I hate doing it because I meal prep all day, 50 times a day for the 4 other people in this household. But I know how beneficial it is because it's done. For the whole week, I have a delicious lunch for 5 days and it's done. But yeah.
I think, one of the things like to think about, and when I started my kind of health journey, I worked in corporate and I would work like, 14 hours a day plus 4 hours of travel and etc. And I didn't get to make my daughter's lunches. And the one thing I always made her like prepped her food and she never had jarred food like when she was baby and I did the weaning thing and stuff. Like I was really like good with that. And one of the reasons, because at that stage, like I was like, if I have such a problem, and this is well before I knew I had lipedema, what chance does she have if I don't do this? Because everything is like so processed and stuff, right? So I did do that, but I never got to make her school lunches really. Like when she's older and was going to school, because I worked in like crazy kind of life. And so now, like that prepping, and I try and think of it as I get to do this now. Like I get to nourish her, where I didn't have that opportunity. And yes, like I'm a super messy. And so I am a batch cooker. I prescribe to people to try and batch cook once, eat many times, etc. Like, but when I'm in that going, oh my God, I'm making such a mess, or this is too much, I just try and flip back to like, I'm setting her up. So I'm setting, you're setting our kids up for the best chance we can. Like we're trying to control our controllables. And in the like world of lipedema, like that we've lost some of the control in the past because we didn't know our diagnosis and we didn't have a roadmap. So I firmly believe that knowledge is power. And with that now, like we can go through all the emotions and the ups and downs of what we have, but to try and go, okay, I have this and I can't change it. But what can I do to try and assist my body as best as possible? And to move out of thinking I have to do all these things because I have lipedema, but to think of it as like, I get to do these things. Gratefully, I'm here on earth today, right? Like, so I get to do this. And then like, I'm doing it for my health and longevity. And the lipedema, make it secondary.
Yeah.
Right? Like make it not all about what we're doing. Like I hear the ladies, in the community and stuff, like I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. And it's overwhelming. But if we think that way, that we have to, then it's never going to be any different. Right?
Yeah.
Like the same way if we hate our body, it's never going to be any different. Like we have to switch it up a little bit and say, I have this, but I get to still do this. Like my tree trunk legs still carry me forward. Like, they're not model legs, even though I've had surgery. Like they're not. Like I'm not tiny. Like, I'm strong. So I get to be strong and I get to fuel my body. And some days I'll get it like more right than others. And that's what if we lean into that space, the day is a bit brighter. If we stay like angry or like frustrated with all the things, and we attribute all the things to lipedema, then we're not moving into a space that helps us function, right? Like if we can say, my goal is life, like, like for me personally, it's to be here for my daughter for as long as possible and to see as many and have as many experiences with her. Like this is important. Yeah? Like, and so that's my why. That's why I show up and try and get things as consistent as possible and figuring out like what works, the protein works, what causes inflammation, like the importance of our sleep, the importance of wearing the compression. Like I wear my comfy waves every night, like I don't think of them as, some days, yes, you'll think of them as a burden. Like you have your moments, right? Like, but limit the time that we spend in that, because if we think so ill of it, it can't be any other way. Like it just can't be. So if we can sit in a space where we go, it is, but I'm curious about what could be.
Yeah.
And that if we go, okay, let's see what the protein can do for me. Let's follow. Like let's give it a chance and an opportunity, then there's a lot of possibility, I think.
Yeah, you're so right. That mindset shift of like, instead of I have to, it's I get to. I feel that with a lot of my conservative management strategies because, like, my red light therapy and my compression pump and my vibration plate, they're actually relaxing and I like to do those things. So that's an I get to mindset. But it flips when the day doesn't work out that I get time to do that unless I sacrifice something else. So I have to sacrifice my sleep and getting to bed at the normal time that I would get to bed if the rest of the day doesn't pan out right. Then it becomes well, I have to do this or I have to do that. Like I need to, and that's where it gets a bit negative. But with food, because we have to eat multiple times a day, every day, and it has to be considered, and planned. If you're going to be healthy and reach your goals, it gets very laborious. And I don't love cooking, which is so weird because I come from an Italian background and I love being around food. Food was our language, but I don't necessarily love cooking, perhaps because I'm always in the go, 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 got to do this, got to do that. So I'm not there yet with the food.
I love that you said you're not there yet. And you don't have to. And that's the thing. We don't have to love our bodies.
Yeah.
We don't have to love prepping the food. But we can lean into like our why about why we are okay with my body today. Or our level of gratitude, or I can see the benefit of prepping the food. And we might not always prep it, and that's okay, right? We might not always get everything done in the day, and who does, right? So it's letting go of like, I have to, or I need to, or I should, and just like, oh, where am I at? Like, how can I combine some of these things? Like, I have a red light. I don't get to it every day, but boy, when I do, it's a bit of sleep. Like, it's lovely, right? Like, so yeah. And I think it's okay to like circulate things as well. Like we have like a wonderful toolbox and it's about now, okay, you go and get them at different times when you have different things going on. You go, oh, okay, I've got way too much with the family on at the moment. And that's okay. So how can I help make this? Okay, it's bagged salad from the grocery store for the next days, right? It's pre-chopped broccoli already done. Maybe you buy some frozen already like chicken breasts that are nicely done and they're quicker to cook or something like that.
Yeah, great tips. Great tips. So we mentioned at the very beginning that you're a health and mindset coach. So, and you also live with lipedema. So that's even a benefit when we go to somebody to help us with these things, it's kind of nice to know that you're like there with us, right? And you have some lived experience because you speak in our language. So where can the lipedema community find you?
Yeah, so 2 websites. So www.ketobuddies.com.au and lipedemacoaching.com.au. And I'm contactable. I have a calendar on there and I offer a first consultation for free. And I think we are okay to offer the listeners a special if that's okay with you as well.
My gosh, please talk to that. I'm sure our listeners will benefit from anything.
So, because I do understand the costs associated with this disease, and I also find like people are hesitant to spend money on themselves because they're in that overwhelm of like, oh, there's so many things and it's just too many to get started, right? And then there's a lot of like uncurated information out there and a lot of like misinformation in regards to anti-inflammatory eating. I did like basically, I think it's about 4 hours of smaller broken down modules pre-recorded, and I call it the 3-2-1 of simplified keto. So it's no counting macros or anything, and there's a fair amount of information around what is inflammation and why does that matter to us living in our bodies and why it's important to manage it, whether you want it to be keto or low carb or Mediterranean. There's content in there to help people get started in that 4 hours of a pre-recorded workshop, basically. So I'll give the listeners a code to put in if they wanted. And I think it's just podcast and it'll be 50% off. So it's normally super underpriced. I think with GST, it comes out at 97 and now it'll be like half of that for them. And
Oh,
it's
that's amazing.
just information like in a curated form. I don't know.
That is awesome, Vanessa. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you. It's been, I love your information and everything you guys do and put together. I'm an avid listener, so it certainly helped me on my journey.
Thank you. I'll put all of that information in the show notes. And thank you again for joining us today, Vanessa.
Thank you. It's been great. Take care.
Bye. The Lipoedema Podcast 2025 is powered by Elegance Lymphatic Care. Lipoedema and its symptoms vary from individual to individual. The opinions and advice voiced in this podcast are of a personal nature and used for educational purposes.
Please take away from this podcast what resonates with you, and please see your GP or preferred specialist for diagnosis and healthcare. We are Shell and Tiana from the Lipoedema Podcast. Until our next episode, bye for now.